Welcome to Church History for Life, a ministry of the Christian Heritage Center. I'm Kyle Kirby, founder of the CHC and pastor for preaching at Grace Fellowship Church in Albion, Illinois. I'm joined today by my co-host, Tim Hopp. Tim, how are you today?
Doing great. Excited to be here.
All right,
Thankful
Tim.
for the here in Missouri, at least, we are enjoying the first fruits of fall. It's been in the 60s and 70s
Oh.
this week, and it's been fantastic. I know the 90s are coming back, but I'm enjoying the break.
Yeah, it's been so pleasant here as well. We've just been going for family walks every night.
Yeah.
It's so enjoyable. Now, Tim, what do you do there in Nixa? Why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do and a little bit about your background?
So I am the lead pastor of First Baptist Church in Nixa, which is a suburb of Springfield. So if I ever get outside of Missouri, I just tell people I'm from Springfield, Missouri. I've been here at this church for 12 years, and my my background is in church history. I've got a PhD in historical theology. My focus is on the 17th century and English nonconformity, particularly John Bunyan, who I'm excited. We're only in the second century, but when we get to the 17th, I'm excited.
Maybe we'll
about
slow down
that.
a little bit.
We might need to slow down a bit. So Bunyan's my boy, and the 17th century is my era.
That's
But
right.
it's been fun as we've begun this Church History for Life podcast to reach back into the patristics and kind of reacquaint myself with some of these figures that don't often pass through my mind.
Yeah. Yep. Well, thanks for being here, Tim. I appreciate your labors and your work there in Nixa as well. Tim serves as a board member for the Christian Heritage Center, so we're very grateful for his involvement in that as well. So, in each episode of Church History for Life, we consider the lives of historic Christian figures really by asking three questions. Who was this person? What are they known for? And how can we learn from them today? Our aim is to connect the past with the present and to make church history edifying for your soul and to make it edifying for believers today. In today's episode, we meet Ignatius of Antioch, an early church bishop who walked to his death with boldness and joy in Christ. So we're going to begin with our first question.
So the first question that we ask is, who was this person? Let's get a little brief biographical sketch of Ignatius of Antioch. And the fact of the matter is, we don't know a whole lot about Ignatius. We know that he was the bishop of Antioch in Syria, which was the major city of the Syrian district of the Roman Empire. By Ignatius's day, Antioch was a city of about 500,000 people. So it's major metropolis, a melting pot of cultures. And I think Ignatius's story, if indeed he was born and raised in Antioch, then we can trace his roots to the Bible. Because so much happens in the Antiochian church, especially in the book of Acts. You'll remember that the disciples were first called Christians at Antioch. It's the first large-scale multicultural church comprised of both Jews and Gentiles, which actually created a lot of turmoil that had to be worked through. And the doctrine of the gospel was clarified and proclaimed as a result of some of that Jewish-Gentile conflict. A couple of interesting things about the church in Antioch, and again, if we know about the day of Ignatius's death, So there are two dates that are proposed by scholars. There's a late date and an early date,
Mm,
and I think the early date is kind of the majority view, and I think it's more likely that or Ignatius died in 115 A.D. under the reign of the Emperor Trajan, and he died in Rome, and that's going to be part of his story.
mm,
So if he died in 115, let's say that he was 75 years old when he died, which might be pushing it a bit, but
mm,
that would have put him, uh, born in 40 AD
mm,
and a young boy when some of these events are playing out.
mm,
So that's all speculation, but we do know that he inherited a church that had been through the fires of
mm,
Judaism,
mm,
the Judaizing heresy, where the question was, does a Gentile need to become a Jew in order to become a Christian? That was an issue that was still a live issue
mm,
when Ignatius was uh, serving as the bishop of Antioch. So we know very little about
mm,
Ignatius's life until he is arrested. It's
mm,
unclear exactly why he is arrested, but we do know that he embraced that arrest as a way of uh, proclaiming the faith
mhm,
and sealing his testimony with his blood. And in other words, he was determined to go to martyrdom.
mm,
In fact, so he's arrested
mm,
in Antioch, and he begins this long journey to Rome,
mm,
really retracing the steps of Paul's third missionary journey.
mm,
It's interesting that he goes to all these different places. He stops in Ephesus, and from Ephesus he begins to write letters.
mm,
He makes another stop in Smyrna and eventually gets to Rome. And in the latter part of his journey, he writes seven letters, which
mm,
we'll speak about in a moment. And it's through those seven letters that we begin to get a picture of what he is uh, facing in
mm,
Antioch. So we don't have any documents from his time in Antioch, but we have letters from just before his death looking back on his ministry in Antioch and looking back on the
mm,
issues that were going on there. Two major issues that he faced, two major heresies that he combated on each front were the relationship between the Jewish law and the Christian gospel. So very much carrying forward the battle that Paul waged in the Antiochian church about the place of the law. Do Christians is the law of Moses still in play? Do Christians
mm,
need to be circumcised according to the law of Moses? Keep the dietary codes, keep the festival and feast days.
mm,
Is that a part of the Christian faith? And Ignatius comes in very strongly and says no.
mm,
To bring these law keeping acts as a part of our righteousness by which we expect to be
mm,
justified before God is to reject the grace of God.
mm,
The on the other hand, from so that would be
mm,
maybe from the Jewish Christian sector of the Antioch church.
mhm,
Uh, on the other hand, he is facing the heresy of Docetism,
mm,
which was a Gnostic Christian heresy that was beginning to emerge at the end of the first century and into the second century. And Docetism, which derives its name from the Greek verb dokeo, which means to appear, said that Jesus did not have a true human body, but he only appeared to have
mm,
a true human body. And if he didn't have a true human body, he couldn't have died a true human death. He only appeared to die. And if he didn't have a true human body and didn't die a true human death, then he certainly didn't have a bodily resurrection, but only
mm,
appeared to be raised. And so Ignatius is fighting this on the other hand. So he's fighting the Judaizing heresy on
mm,
one and the Gnostic heresy on the
mm,
other. And the best way I think of understanding his determination to martyrdom is to say that uh, I am so convinced that I am right I'm so convinced that
Mm,
I'm standing in the truth on these two issues that I'm willing to seal my testimony in my blood. And so he writes to these churches, these seven churches, and in at least three of them, he
mm,
urges them, don't interfere.
mm,
They were
mm,
willing to pay bribes uh, to the uh, to the guards
mm,
to treat him well and perhaps even let him go. And he says, no, no, this
mm,
has been appointed to me. And indeed, in probably 115 AD, Ignatius is put to death in the Roman
mm,
Colosseum. He is devoured by wild beasts in the Colosseum, and seals his testimony with his blood.
mm. Yeah, almost like, "Don't take this away from me."
Right.
He
You know,
wanted to finish well.
and he did, and he saw that, I think uniquely,
Mhm,
he saw that his death was appointed for him
mhm,
for this purpose.
yeah,
The church later on would have to deal with uh, the pendulum swinging in the other direction, people seeking martyrdom
mhm,
uh, in an unhealthy and unbiblical
mm,
fashion. But Ignatius is one of the first
mm,
that his death becomes widely known because of this last pilgrimage
mm,
to Rome.
mm. So we also want to ask, what are they known for? And so Tim's already touched on a few of these things, but Ignatius is best known for his 7 letters that he wrote while being escorted to Rome for execution. They were addressed to the churches in Ephesus, Magnesia, Tralles, Rome, Philadelphia, Smyrna, and Polycarp. In these letters, he urged believers to maintain unity under their bishop, uh, he and presbyters and their deacons. He saw this as vitally significant and vitally important. Um, he also clearly um, encourages them to pursue faithfulness and holiness. He strongly affirmed the full divinity and full humanity of Jesus Christ in these letters. He opposed early heresies, as Tim already stated, with regards to Christian heresies and the law and works righteousness and so forth. But he also opposed things like the Docetism and Gnosticism. In his letter to the Romans, it reveals this deep desire that we've been speaking of for martyrdom, which he viewed as almost an ultimate witness and testimony to Christ. And this reminds me of Justin, which we'll speak about later, because we also see in Justin the usefulness of Christian martyrdom.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is that Justin, there was something about the manner in which Christians went to their death and the manner in which they were able to go to their death, that was compelling to him. That drew out his curiosity. Like, why are Christians able to face death in the way that they are able to face death? And so Ignatius wants to die well. He wants to finish well. Throughout his writings, Ignatius called Christians to live in unity, avoid divisions, and persevere in faithfulness under persecution. His letters remain some of the earliest post apostolic Christian texts we possess today, providing a vivid picture of the doctrine and the leadership structure of the early second century church. I think there's one other thing that it's important for us to recognize with regards to Ignatius is, you know, I don't know if we'd call it a hobby horse that he had, but he pressed this idea of a single bishop
Mhm.
to an unhealthy degree, and
Yeah.
he is known for that.
Yeah.
And I think that it's significant also that the fact that he had to press this so much, and the fact that he did place such an emphasis on this, shows that it wasn't universal, and it demonstrates that it wasn't universally accepted among those early churches. But we find caution in this as well, because we find the inception, in a way, of early Roman Catholic structures that are
Yeah.
being that would develop out of Ignatius's emphasis on the sole bishop. And so he's
Sure.
certainly known for that. So these are the big things that he's known for uh, today.
But I think it's important to place that in context.
Hmm.
I don't know because we don't have a lot of his right. I don't know that
Yeah.
he is making a biblical case, an
Yeah.
exegetical case for which is actually kind of anachronistic to even
Mm,
say that for the what's known as the
mm,
monoepiscopacy, the single bishop. He's really driven to that because he sees that as the solution to a
yeah.
divided church. So if we can imagine that he has churches, different congregations throughout a huge city of Antioch, how else
Hmm.
he asks, and I would come to a different conclusion,
Mm,
and you would as well. But how else he asks, can I hold these churches to the truth,
yeah.
but by vesting uh, greater authority in the person who I know I'm right,
Hmm.
and I know that there are. He affirmed there were elders in the churches
Yeah.
of Antioch, uh, but he couldn't trust them all.
Mm,
So, when so I think there's a lot of problems that he's trying to address.
yeah.
He's not driven to the single bishop over the church's model by biblical arguments,
Hmm.
because I don't think there are biblical arguments to be made for that.
Hmm.
He is arguing for it as a means to an end, and the
Yeah.
means to the end is unity in the truth. And we might, in certain crises of
Mm,
truth, be driven to the same.
mm,
If heresy were to break out in your church, uh, it would be tempting to try to settle that issue by you as one elder
mm,
grasping control of it. So
yeah.
uh, I definitely think that that is an area not to imitate and emulate, uh,
It
but
was certainly well intentioned.
I think it was well intentioned. Yeah.
I think I do think that's important. So when I said hobby horse, I don't necessarily mean negative. It just
Hmm.
seems like it. He longed for the church to have unity, and we see that in his writings.
Right.
And so he longed for the church to have unity, and he longed for the purity of the church. And so I think that, like you said, this was the primary means he saw that being maintained. And
Right.
so it was a good thing he was seeking to do. Um, yeah, it's just and it was pragmatic based in a sense.
Right. Rather than exegetically.
Yeah.
Uh, so last question: what can we learn from Ignatius? What can we take away and imitate and emulate for our own life and our own faith and our own churches? Well, I can think of a few. I think of uh, obviously his perseverance unto death.
Mm,
Actually
mm,
have a portion of his letter to the Romans,
mm,
and let me just read the one paragraph if I can. The whole of it's so good, but he's writing to the Roman church before he gets there, and he says, I
mm,
pray that the events in that arena and the unseen forces of wickedness behind them will not conspire against me out of envy and prevent me from reaching Jesus.
mm,
Bring on the fire, bring on the cross,
mm,
bring on the hordes of wild animals. Let them wrench my bones out of socket and mangle my limbs and grind up my whole body. Bring on all the hideous tortures from the devil. Just let me get to Jesus Christ.
mm.
A little
Wow,
earlier,
I'm
he
ready.
says, a little earlier, he says, I'm writing letters to all the churches so that I can proclaim clearly to everyone I am totally willing to die for God, but I can only do that if you won't interfere. I
Yeah.
beg you, don't try to show me a kindness that I don't want.
Mm,
So,
mm,
so number one
mm,
is his faithfulness unto death, his willingness to go even to the arena and to the wild
mm,
animals uh, in order to testify to the gospel of Christ. The second thing is his willingness to contend for the faith once
Mm,
for all delivered to
yeah.
the saints. There's a time to fight, and that time is when the gospel is threatened.
Yeah.
They weren't squabbling in Antioch over different views of the millennium. They weren't
Mm,
squabbling over insignificant matters of I
mm,
hate to say insignificant in relation to any church doctrine, but
yeah.
minor would be a better word.
Yeah.
Minor issues of church polity. They were arguing over how is a sinner made right in the sight of God.
Yep.
Is it by law? Is it by their own law keeping or by Christ's law keeping?
Yep.
And so he was willing to go to the mats for that.
Mm,
Similarly, he was
mm,
arguing over essential Christology.
yeah.
So there is a time to contend for the faith, and Ignatius knew when that was. He knew when the gospel was
Mm,
threatened, and I think that we uh, ought to ought to know that as well. We ought to
mm,
be willing to go to battle for the truth when the truth is really at stake, fundamentally
yeah.
at stake. We'll learn from other church
Mm,
fathers that there's also a time to exercise Christian freedom. Right
yeah.
there are times when the gospel is not at stake, and there are times to preserve unity through uh, compromise,
Mm-hmm.
but not when the gospel is threatened.
Mm,
So perseverance in the faith is
mm,
one. Willing to contend for the faith is two, and then thirdly, I would say his evident love
mm-hmm.
for the church. Right, he
That's what I was
loved
going to say.
the Church of
Yeah.
Christ. He loved the
Yeah.
churches of Christ. His letters are affectionate.
Mm-hmm.
They are uh, encouraging, and he had a true sense that I think can be very much lost.
Mm-hmm.
This is something I'm hoping to regain from
Yeah.
even my own survey of the church fathers.
Mm,
Is a regaining of the Catholicity of the global church,
amen.
right? We're in this together,
Yep.
and I think that's admirable, commendable, and something that we can imitate.
Mm, mm, yeah. So we've considered who this person was, Ignatius of Antioch. What he was known for, he's known preeminently for his letters. He was known for his contending for the faith and his fighting against heresies. But he's also known for his death. And then we've learned we can take away several things from him. Um, One, as Tim said, was his evident love for the church, his willingness to fight for the church, um, and so we have every reason to honor and preserve this historical figure and
Mhm.
to encourage others to learn from him. So today,
I
Tim, do you
might,
have?
I might, I might add. All of his letters are available online.
Mhm.
This is all in the public domain. They're easy to read. And actually, if I can put a book plug in, this would be this is a great resource. So the church fathers is not. I'll give it's getting to know the church fathers, an evangelical introduction by
Mm,
Brian Litfin. It's published by Baker Academic. I think it was published in second edition was in 2016.
mm,
Uh, I don't know all this stuff off the top of my head. The
mm,
church fathers is not my foray. We were talking before we came on
mm.
about how church history is simply too broad and
Yeah.
expansive to know everything
Mm,
about every era. But this has some really
mm,
accessible, really great chapters. So you can go to the source. You can go
mm,
to Ignatius himself and read his letters. They're all available online. Or you can pick up books like this that will give you introductions to his life. He's well worth getting to know.
mm. Yeah. Praise God. We're thankful for Ignatius of Antioch and his willingness to fight for the faith and to stand up for the Lord Jesus. Um, Everybody, thanks for joining us for this episode of Church History for Life. We hope that you've been encouraged and strengthened in your faith as we've looked back on this important figure in church history. Next time, we will consider Justin Martyr, the great apologist of the second century. If you would, please like and subscribe and share this content with anyone you think would be encouraged or find it interesting or helpful in their life. It's a great help to our ministry if you would be willing to do that. For more resources, visit our website, christianheritagecenter.us. And on that note, I would encourage us to continue honoring, preserving, and learning from the heritage of godly figures in the past to better serve the church today. Thanks so much, friends. Blessings.